Well, hello everyone. This is Al Fadi. Welcome back to a continuation of our video series on the meaning behind the name or the term Muhammad and how it's connected to Jewish terminologies or Jewish character or Jewish teachings. And even last time we talked about the Jews anticipating the rise of their Messiah in the 7th century. And obviously, Mel, who is joining us right now remotely, shed some light on some of that understanding or the prophecy that they anticipated to be fulfilled in certain characters. Today, we're going to take a look at an Islamic figure, at least a popular Islamic figure known by Salman Al Farsi, but yet we're going to look at this character from a Jewish background. With us here, of course, to unpack that, Brother Mel. Mel, thank you so much for all the research that you do and for these valuable information that you are sharing. And I like what you said earlier, that one day all of these pieces will fall together and we'll begin to see the big picture. So we are still in the process of building these blocks one by one. Today, we're going to talk about Salman Al Farsi. What is it that we know about him from a Jewish, basically, background?
Well, from a Jewish background, he was Shallum. The Exilarch was Shalom, and he was the brother of Nehemiah bin Hushiel. So certainly some Jews believed that he was the Messiah bin David at that time. Now, in preparation for this series, I was looking at the evidence and building the case that Shalom and Salman were the same person. But then I realized actually there is an acknowledgement that already in the Islamic tradition, I don't even need to go there. I just need to point out that that is what many Muslims actually believe already. So I don't necessarily have to prove that. But that creates a massive problem for Islam if they are one and the same person, because it shows us that they have changed significantly the biography of this individual who was Jewish, and they have termed him a Zoroastrian, a Christian, and eventually a Muslim, but anything other than Jewish, which is what he was. So that's going to be significant. It shows that there's a concerted attempt to change the story. So the question I ask is, what of Salman Al Farsi, Muhammad's right-hand man, according to standard Islamic narrative? Is there anyone in the historical record that could provide a match for him? We need someone of significance between 610 and 632, according to Sin's timeline. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at some sources, Islamic sources, to see what Muslims tend to believe about this figure before looking at the historical figure. So Salman, according to this Islamic website, had a knowledge of both the Christian scriptures and the Quran, in addition to his earlier knowledge of the Zoroastrian religion. Salman, in fact, translated parts of the Quran into Persian during the lifetime of the Prophet. He was thus the first person to translate the Quran into a foreign language. It also says there he was stuffed with knowledge and wisdom. The problem with that is that he's a companion of Muhammad, and Muhammad is down in the Hijaz, and yet if this is the Exilarch, he was not down in the Hijaz. Now, what is fitting with the historical narrative is the fact that he was a knowledgeable person. You would expect the Exilarch to be incredibly knowledgeable and able to translate things into different languages. So that part, at least, is correct. But the fact that it doesn't mention anything about the Jewish connection is kind of odd. Now, we also have from Tabari an early tradition that actually, instead of referring to him as Al Farsi, it actually calls him Salman Al Farsi. Now, obviously, there's a bit of a play on the word here, but a Pharisee is a Jewish sect.
Yeah, Al Farisi. That's how we say it in Arabic. Al Farisi. Yeah.
Al Farisi.
Yeah.
A Pharisee or a Pharisee would be someone who is connected with rabbinical Judaism.
The Pharisees, yes, exactly.
Yeah. So with a term like Pharisee being so similar to Pharisee, I can imagine that this could be a coined term that's used for him for multiple reasons. If he was Jewish, it makes sense to call him that. If he was connected in Persia, perhaps in terms of his biography, maybe, like, for example, the standard Islamic narrative says that he was taken away and made a slave for 10 years. So he was sent into exile for 10 years, which sounds remarkably similar to the story of Muhammad, who was exiled for 10 years as well. That obviously is just a coincidence. We also have, from this Islamic website, a clear indication that Muslims believe that Shalom bin Hushiel is the same person as Salman Al Farsi or Pharisee or Pharisee.
Right. So it could be
and it says that
it could be his connection to the geographical area, that's Persia, or it could be his connection to his, I would say, religious authority.
Yeah. And the fact that the terms are being used interchangeably would suggest that both titles for him actually both work. It's a good play on words, because if he's in the right location and also he happens to be Jewish, it's a nice little term to call him. It's kind of playful. I don't think it's necessary really to kind of think too deeply about the etymology and whether it's justified to call him Farsi and Pharisee, because I think it's the terms are close enough in sound for someone to use that as a playful term. So, as you can see there, this Islamic website refers to him as the son of the Exilarch, Hushiel. So they're open and honest there about that, and that's actually significant because the same standard Islamic narrative denies that he's Jewish. They say he's Zoroastrian, he's Christian and Muslim at different stages of his life, but they're ignoring the most important part of that's true, that he was Jewish.
Right.
Why are they avoiding that? That's the question I want to ask everyone. Why, of all the things they could say about him, why are they trying to avoid saying that he's Jewish? Because that tells us way too much. It points us towards the history that was going on in the background that we shouldn't know about, because it unpacks everything. So I think that's the rationale behind it. We can see here how similar the two terms are, Farsi and Pharisee. Now, there's a couple of scholars that actually argue that Pharisee derives from the Aramaic words parsa, meaning Persian or Persianizer, and that actually might explain why that play on words is happening between that. We must be on guard then when we hear that Persians founded the Arab rebellion. It may be that Jewish leaders associated with the Babylonian academies are actually involved. If you remember back to an earlier series that I did with you, we saw that in a Chinese source, it refers to a Persian herding camels, who's the instigator of everything. Well, if that's Al Farsi or Al Pharisee, it could, for all we know, be Shalom, that it's alluding to there. So that opens up things very nicely, especially because he became the Exilarch in 617, and there are multiple sources that talk about the Tayyeh revolting in 617, exactly at the same time that Shallum became the Exilarch. So an awful lot of coincidences are happening, forming concentric circles that seem to offer a plausible explanation that the standard Islamic narrative is actually basing it on a historical figure, but they're editing his story to suit the narrative. They're ignoring his Jewish origins. They're ignoring the fact that he was up in Iraq, that he's the leader of Jews, and that he is the leader of this rebellion. So to put it into context, we could see that Salman Farsi is the brother of Nehemiah bin Hushiel, who was killed, as we saw in the previous episode. And these two Jewish scholars confirm, from their point of view, that Salman Farsi must be Shalom that's mentioned in their sources. So,
Yep.
Wonderful. That's it from me.
Yep, thank you so much. It's really interesting take, of course, on the meaning behind the title Pharisee or Pharisee. I mean, that again, it shows that without the diacritical markings or any of these features, the harakat, the word in Arabic is left to be interpreted in a variety of ways. And this is another problem, even though we're not talking that Salman Al Farsi was mentioned in the Quran, but that shows the importance of that even in how it applies to the Quran itself and the various text readings in and of themselves. Well, next time, hopefully, we'll try to wrap up the series, but at least we'll be talking about a very interesting title or name mentioned in chapter 9, which, by the way, baffled a lot of scholars. Uzair, that's the name that the Jews took Uzair as to being the Son of God, and they are cursed for that. And the Christians took the Messiah to be the Son of God. But your take on the word Uzair is very interesting, very new, and hopefully people will pay attention to that because it will start to make sense, actually, when you look at it that way. Anything else you want to add to this, brother, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think that will actually connect all the dots in terms of the idea that what we're looking at in the 7th century is a messianic movement. We saw that the Jews believed the Messiah had arrived, and this is also going to fit into the overall jigsaw.
Wonderful. Thank you as always. Thank you, everyone. This is Al Fadi over and out. God bless. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And ring the bell so you will be notified when we release new content. Our mission is to reach Muslims with the gospel of Jesus Christ and help Christians engage with their Muslim neighbors. If you want to join us in this life-changing work, please support us on patreon.com/CIRA International or just click on the link below.